There are two companions in this movie. The first one we meet is Chang Li. He's an Asian American ganger who spends most of this movie helping the Master. However, when we first see him, he's involved in a shootout, and when the Doctor gets caught in the crossfire, it's Chang who stays to make sure he gets help. And when it's revealed that the Master's been manipulating him since the beginning, he immediately stands up to him, putting his life on the line. The redemption story is a classic in all forms of entertainment, especially in Doctor Who, and I would have loved to see more stuff done with Chang. Of the two companions, he's by far the better character, and it's a real shame we don't get to see much of him interacting with the Doctor. I reckon he's had real companion potential. He's street smart, compassionate, and by the end of the movie, he would rather do the right thing than get paid to do the wrong thing. The second companion is Dr. Grace Holloway, and despite being a cardiovascular surgeon, she is dumb as dirt. First of all, she goes to the opera when she's on call. Real doctors don't do this because they know they might have to go to the hospital in an emergency, which is exactly what happens. She is called in to fix the Doctor's racing heart, and immediately gets lost in his cardiovascular system. Now, that's not really surprising because he's got two hearts, and that's what's causing the problem. But instead of pulling out and starting over, she does this.
Let me try something.
That's right. She kills the Doctor. He gets shot and patched up fine, and is then murdered by a surgeon who forcefully shoves on a probe that is in his heart when she knows she's lost. She then proceeds to ignore every piece of evidence the Doctor shows to prove he is who he says he is, including pulling the probe that she left in him out of his side. As a final insult to good companions throughout the entirety of Doctor Who, she is able to rewire the TARDIS to send it to the time zone she wants to go to in less than a minute. And she only has the instructions, think alarm clock, to do it. Now there are very, very few companions I would trust to rewire the TARDIS, even with the Doctor giving instructions over the side. And she's been in the thing for less than 10 minutes. Her entire character seems to be completely ridiculous, and as far as I can tell, it's only there to give the Doctor his first real romantic love interest in an episode. They're both killed by the Master at the end, by the way. Not that it matters, because the TARDIS somehow brings them back to life. How? I don't even have the first idea. But that does seem like a good place to move us on to our next section. Now this might seem like an odd thing to focus on, but the TARDIS is vital to setting the right mood to Doctor Who. It's there that the Doctor travels through time, and since it's normally the only safe place he has, it's normally where the plot gets explained as well. Now, it doesn't really happen very much in this movie, but it was supposed to be a sort of pseudo-secret pilot for more TV movies to come, so I really think it bears examination. Externally, it's a blue box. It's got the words police box written around the top, it's got windows on each side, and a blue light on the top. There's really not a lot you can do with the outside of the TARDIS, and if you tried, you'd probably be lynched by the fans. But internally, there you can make whatever impact you want. I really like their choices of props in this. I like the fact the Doctor has a comfy armchair, where he can listen to his old-timey Earth gramophone, and read Earth books while he's travelling the long distances in space and time. I also really love the console. Maybe it's the steampunk feel, or the fact that it really feels alive, unlike the rest of the TARDIS set. Which brings me on to what I don't like about the TARDIS set. The lighting. It's all lit with candles and flaming torches, making it feel more like a gothic castle or a place in decline than a vibrant, living gateway to anywhere or anywhen. Even though they clearly had more space to work with on this version than on any version before or since, the TARDIS somehow feels smaller than one of the well-lit versions. I think the problem is that although the set is very big, it feels like this is all there is to the TARDIS. And while you do see other rooms, they don't really feel connected to each other at all. Whereas in the smaller sets, you really believe that the TARDIS could go on forever. It's a real shame, because it looked really good apart from that. I just can't get over how small it feels. This is the most crucial part of any version of Doctor Who. If the Doctor sucks, nothing else matters. Thankfully, however, I really like this version of the Doctor. He's inquisitive, he's fun, he has a sense of whimsy, and a tendency to speak in non sequiturs like this.
A meteor storm, the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes! What? These shoes! They fit perfectly, yes.
And he can even be serious when he needs to be. There's no such thing as a perfect Doctor, and every actor's variant on him is very different from each other, but for the most part they're all good. But I think it's a real shame the only time we got to see this guy was on this particular movie rather than any continuation. He is the centre of a lot of the Virgin books though, and he's still doing audio readings of these books, or audio shows where he plays the Eighth Doctor now, and that's not a mean feat by any stretch of the imagination, when you consider that he's the 8th Doctor, and right now on TV, it's the 11th. I'm really, really, really glad they didn't completely stuff this up.
The Doctor is half human.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm half human. On my mother's side.
That's what I thought. What the fuck? I'm sorry about that. So yeah, they screwed it up. Paul McGann's Doctor is still really good, but anything so against the character it requires explanations in about a dozen different books is a major, major black mark. So, conclusion time. This movie sucks, and it sucks hard. They basically screwed up everything it's possible to screw up in a Doctor Who series. The plot is terrible and filled to the brim with stupidity and plot holes. They ruined a perfectly good villain idea by trying to cram it into being the Master. The main companion we see is really little more than a love interest, has no use at all, and is dumber than paint. The TARDIS feels tiny, and they turned the Doctor into a... Anyway, don't watch this movie. If you have never seen Doctor Who before, start with one of the old serials, like Battlefield, or Ghostlight, or The Talons of Weng Chiang. Or hell, just start with the pilot episode of the 2005 series if you want. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to go clean my palate by watching The 11th Hour, the pilot of Season 5 of the current series, and a much better attempt to widen the audience of Doctor Who. I'll see you next week.